Here we are in the much improved version of the Path to Zarkon. Still one of the weaker chapters in the game overall, but hey, it still means something.
The fish look pretty sleek, at least, with their shiny fish skin.
Yeah, just sucks that we have to deal with like the bad water textures of this game versus the water that's in the original Xbox versions.
I was going to make a joke about why couldn't they make something like this a combat, or maybe a speedrunning option, but oh my god, you can actually do this in Sigma.
Yes, and all of this is like a very clear precursor to like sections that appear in Ninja Gaiden 2, because of that game actually having water combat that is very similar to this, and you being able to fire projectiles while jumping. But more importantly than that, as you'll find, the stuff we're going to have to do in this chapter, as well as the layout, is very different. Like, it's and not even from a visual standpoint like some of the earlier chapters in the game where, like the actual geometry is changed significantly. I mean, this all looks very familiar, but, you know, we're actually, that gate right in front of us, we swim under it, not go into a tunnel off to the side. And can continue to do this, which is infinitely less painful than having to swim in the water and just flail our sword around.
Oh my god, and you can go back into water running from in the water.
Yep. Although the way it works here is like, because water running just happens when you're like when you drop onto a body of water, all you have to do is hold the left stick in any direction to move. When you're swimming and you want to go into water running, you press the X button while pressing in a direction, which is fine, except for the moments where you want to like dive back underwater, like because you have to get something at the bottom, and that just like I often like cause that input to happen instead when I don't mean to, so it kind of becomes a bit confusing. So yeah. So we didn't have to find the owl's eye and open like a combination lock on a door, but in its place we had to swim through a tunnel with spike traps jutting out the sides.
I was gonna say, those didn't look familiar to me.
Nope, and they continue. So yeah, trying my best not to get poked by these things, but that clearly didn't last long, and it actually causes your. God damn it! I keep forgetting that those drones are ones that shoot rockets and aren't the regular laser drones.
To be honest, I actually completely forgot that the rocket drones existed.
Yeah, well, like, in Black, there was only one type of drone, which was the laser ones. It mostly came up in the Rachel chapters where you were, like, kind of introduced to other types of drones, like ones that shot machine gun fire, and then these ones obviously shoot rockets. But with this chapter, you know, the first puzzle that we had to solve in Black is no longer here. Similarly, we don't have to go looking for the silver and gold medallions in order to unlock another door. We still get to go to the sunken ship and pick up the oxygen cylinder, at least. That part's intact. Also, I don't know why I forgot to cut out like the part where I was like having to select all these Life of the Gods manually to upgrade my health. God damn it, me.
Maybe it was to show everybody exactly how long it can take? think you did that before, though.
Yeah, I did. I mean, that was the whole purpose of when I said that I was going to cut out all that stuff. But apparently, I forgot here. Oh well.
We'll make it into a contest.
I don't know.
If you could correctly guess how many times it happens again throughout the rest of the LP, I will mail you a cupcake.
I will guarantee that is the only other time in which I do that.
Well, they can guess 0. Wait, what are these guys?
These
guys are new.
They are new. They're like weird mermaid thing fuckers. I don't even know what they are, but they are enemies that they tried to design where you would actually try to engage in like water running combat, but kind of like how I dealt with the fiend shark swimming below. I just ran and jumped around and fired arrows in their faces. But the thing is that, you know, despite them being aquatic enemies, they do classify as humanoids, which means you can Izuna drop them. You have on water combos where they can go into a launcher, and from that point you can initiate the light heavy, you know, to do the Izuna drop. And I believe when it happens, it's kind of janky with what happens afterwards, but it's still kind of cool, is that you Izuna drop to the bottom of like the volume of water that you're in, and you shoot back up to the surface. But the problem is, like, whenever it's happened, I feel like it's never been consistent about whether you're still like in a swimming animation or if you go straight back into water running. I know in Ninja Gaiden 2 that when you do it, you don't break the surface of the water when you Izuna drop enemies there, but that's probably for the better just because it means you can immediately go back into water running and continue the fight.
Yeah, that does seem like it's a little nicer.
But yes, Izuna drop enemies into the water, as if this signature move was not already the greatest thing ever created.
And they still kept the... I don't know if I can call it an artificial gateway. The progress checkpoint. Did you get the oxygen tank or not? Yes or no?
Yeah, just continuing the. Well, I mean, this even. Even then, I think just because of like the latter half of the chapter, when you go back into like the catacombs, you still kind of need the oxygen cylinder regardless, just because of how much water you have to swim through. But because we don't have to pick up the medallions anymore, like this area is actually completely optional. But it's still. But yeah, like you said, a lot of this is still is an example of, you know, most of the levels about trying to keep you moving forward at all times, but they still have the one or two remnants from the old game where they kind of want to make you like explore to pick up a key item, just further highlighting this game's inconsistencies. So yeah, this spot right here is completely different. You know, it's more, you know, that little gate is still there, but now we've got, you know, little islands that kind of, you know, go on and off the water. Yep.
Man, these fishmen are weird.
Yeah, they are. I mean, like, because they're like mermaid people, yet they float above the water. And yes, here it is. Yeah, see, and there was the inconsistency I was talking about, because it looked like, actually, I think maybe that might have, now that I think about it, might have just been because that, like, mini cutscene triggered where the gate was closing. But you saw me for a brief second, once I returned to the surface of the water, start water running again. But then I obviously fell back down because they had to highlight, hey, the gate's closed, you can proceed. But yes, that part is cool, and unfortunately that is the last time in this entire game you ever get to do anything like that, which is kind of a shame. I mean, it's like I said, this chapter is an improvement over its original versions, but it ultimately, like, still doesn't amount much to anything when this is the only time you get to do it. You know, it's not like they found like a major problem in the core design that persisted throughout the entire campaign. You know, this chapter is like super isolated, you know, for all the areas that you can basically go back to and like find like different shortcuts and like connected passageways that lead to other areas. Like that mode might as well be as self-contained as the military base. Although you can, if you want, you can technically go back to it through the aqueduct, but at that point there's really nothing else for, like, why would you go back at that point?
Considering that they took away the silver and gold medallions in this area, I don't really understand why they wouldn't just give you infinite air at the start and just say, well, he's a ninja, he just learned to be able to hold his breath for some ungodly hours amount of time.
Yeah, exactly. Like, for all that they changed up to, like, for this chapter, I actually would have preferred if they had just gone with that conceit right then and there and, like, added a bit more sort of continuity between this game and Ninja Gaiden 2, because, again, 2, they ditched any notion that you have to manage your breath while underwater. Anyway, oh, yeah, just gotten chomped on. It's kind of annoying. And the camera doesn't obviously do much favors when you're just relying on the auto aim to shoot these things. But we're near the end of the chapter at this point, and after about 2 videos of very briefly teasing the use of a particular weapon, we are going to be using it for the boss of this chapter. So yeah, you people will get your reward. You'll see why the unlabored flawlessness is an amazing weapon.
We're gonna use it to its full extent.
Oh yeah,
to show it off. Oh, perfect.
And I'll say right now, how that came about, totally accidental, because prior to this LP, I was never able to get the part time on the Doku fight. Like, if you think back to, like, how I played through that fight in the black version of this chapter, you know, it like, by that point, I had already lost the time bonus because of how the back and forth between you and Doku goes on for quite a while. But I eventually, well, yeah, and I screwed up the combination there. Not much of an issue, but like, basically my thought process was, I started with the dragon sword. Okay, that didn't work. Let's use the Dabilaro. Okay, that kind of works. Still not ideal. Let's try the unlabored flawlessness, because its base strength is, I believe, technically stronger than the level 3 Dabilaro by a very small margin. And then I got hit a few times and then realized, oh, duh, I can use this.
Can't wait. I do have to say, I'm a little happy that you got attacked by the predator fish in this, because the thing with their mouths opening up to the sides just looks really, really cool when they first start to bite you. Yeah,
with their little mandibles. Oh yeah, and another armlet, this being, I believe, the last one, the armlet of fortune. It basically increases the likelihood in which you're gonna get, like, red essence for refilling Nimpo. Kinda useless, but I guess sort of nice if you're in a situation where you're using Nimpo a lot because you don't want to deal with shit for too long. And it's kind of nice to just increase those odds a bit, but I rarely use it. So here we go. Got the big paddle on our back. Gotta give Doku a whooping.
Or boat oar.
Yeah, it kind of does look like an oar. With big red kanji printed on the back that pulsate when we fulfill a certain condition.
Oh, kind of wish it would keep the weapon on your back in cutscenes.
No, that's the unfortunate thing with all the games. Like, they always have to run under the assumption that your Ryu's weapon is always the dragon sword. Kind of a shame, but oh well. Find Doku again, and like a lot of the major boss battles in this game, this one unfortunately gets a less good fight theme. But again, part of the justification is that we already fought against Doku in Chapter 2, and during that he had his primary battle theme, which was, you know, with like the taiko drums just going crazy in the background.
It's a good theme.
It is,
yeah.
But this doesn't fit quite as well. So my strategy when I was starting out with this was to just do the forward heavy attack, because that is just a good single hit that does a lot of damage. But the real trick behind the Unlabored Flawlessness is that you let your health go into critical phase, the strength of the weapon becomes significantly stronger. You know, it's still not doing much more than it already did when I was at full health, but now it's different. The red text is now pulsating, and when I can land a hit, if I can land a hit, because... yep, right there, yeah. And like, the time... I got the time limit on this just fucking barely. Like, it was... This was already like my second or third try with the weapon, and I was not sure if I'd get it, but I did. That's the power of the big paddle.
And if you can get a UT with that thing, it just spanks the room to dust.
Oh yeah. And like, it's interesting too, just because it's a big heavy weapon like the Dabilaro, but its overall moveset, you'll see like in later chapters outside of this boss, its default moveset works very differently, and that includes the ultimate technique. So, like, when it comes down to whether I like that or the Dabilaro, I kind of actually go back and forth between the two quite a bit, just because they have their uses, you know? Like, both are still viable for different reasons. Unlike the Warhammer. Your weapon sucks, Rachel.
I feel like I like the Davilaro just a little bit better. Not because of like movesets or anything like that, but because I don't necessarily trust myself enough to play through the game with as low of the health as I probably should to make good use of the Unlabored Flawlessness.
I'm honestly the same way, but I think it still works out pretty well, just because the base like attack power of that weapon is so strong, you know? Because we've already upgraded the wooden sword 7 times, and out of those 6, its power did not change until we had dumped like the last huge chunk of essence to do so. And as you saw, the payoff was worth it. And that chapter is cleared. For both this version and Black, things are going to start looking up again. So, see ya in the next video.
Later.